Hey there guys, my name's John and welcome to part 2 of my favorite 80s movies of all time. If you guys haven't seen part 1, I'll put an annotation up here and a link down below, but don't do that yet. Don't you leave, because my name's Johnny and I run this high school. That's right, you nerd. And then coincidentally I get my ass kicked because the hairdo's just not enough to threaten you. See you in hell! Stand By Me. Now, this movie is more than an 80s movie. This is a timeless movie, but you know what? It was made in the 80s, and I'll be damned if I didn't get to show that clip that I made last year once again. Just a great movie about camaraderie amongst young guys, you know, traveling down the train tracks looking for a dead body, but it's not about the dead body. It's about the adventure. And there's something I've always wanted. I've always been jealous of that. And I would imagine myself as kind of like a River Phoenix character. And then mixed with a little bit of Corey Feldman without the weirdness and my father never burnt my ear off at the stove. Hey, I don't know, you know, I was just gonna go. That was my Sylvester Stallone impression. That's right, we're talking about Rocky IV. You know, the one where he fights the 7-foot-tall blonde Russian guy. Yeah, that is the definition of 1980s. All Rocky IV is fast-cutting montages of him working out, sweating. He puts a little baby oil on, you know, for the, just to get the shine going. I don't know about you, but every time I watch Rocky IV and one of the workout scenes come on, I just jump on the ground, I rip my shirt off, I start doing push-ups, I rub baby oil all over myself, and then I run around in the snow. And then I chop some damn firewood. Hey Nancy, it's time to play! That was my Freddy Kruger impression. I just came across as a rapist. I'm sorry. Anyway, Freddy Kruger, you know, he haunts teenagers' dreams on Elm Street. And this guy, Robert Englund, I mean, this is the scariest, iconic horror figure to me. Not only is he gonna stab you, but he's gonna sexually assault you too, and that just, you know, that's scary. Next up, it's the Goonies. How could this be my favorite 80s movies of all time without this damn thing? You know, you got the little Asian kid with booby traps, and when I was younger, I always used to try to make booby traps. I remember having rubber bands, twigs, and I had strings going across my grandma's kitchen, and the next morning she fell down. And then you had the old lady from Throw Mama from the Train.
Stop crying like a little baby and bury me out in the front yard before he starts to stink up the basement.
Sorry. Oh, and do you guys remember the name of the pirate from this movie? One-Eyed Willie? How the hell can you not like that? Never, never, never! Yeah, that's right. It's Footloose, damn it. Don't talk shit about the bacon. This movie is inspirational, dedicational, and inspiring to a young man such as myself. Here's why. You guys know the scene where he gets mad, frustrated, because he's just a guy who wants to dance in a small town and listen to his music in his Volkswagen Bug, and then he goes to that warehouse that's abandoned, and then he smokes a cigarette literally in one drag, throws a beer bottle, and he starts dancing, and then he coincidentally and conveniently, he's a gymnast, and they just had the right pipe set up so he could conveniently do his little gymnastics routine, and then he jumps on a rope that, you know, who knows if that rope was even tied to anything or how, you know, it could have been dry rotted, but he just jumps on the damn thing and swings across a big warehouse. Next up, a movie not many people, that not many people know about. It's just one of the guys, and this is, basically, there's a girl who's in journalism class. Yeah, it's high school journalism. She takes it a little too serious, and she feels like they're being sexist because they won't publish her articles about whatever, who cares, you know what I mean? And then she's like, I'm a woman. I'm going to prove my, you know, womanhood. And she transfers to another school. She cuts her hair. She tapes her boobs down, and then she acts like a boy. And then she gets picked on once again by Johnny from The Karate Kid. Yeah, that same guy's in this playing Johnny from The Karate Kid. I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway, at the end, she makes out with some guy, flashes everyone to prove that she's a woman, and it's just a good movie. I think you guys should check out just one of the guys. You know what I used to do to guys like you in prison? Next up, it's Roadhouse, starring Patrick Swayze, the 1980s badass who was a bouncer at bars. By the way, this movie's based on a bouncer, or a cooler. I'm sorry, Swayze, don't kick my ass. That he gets paid a lot of money to be a security guard. Now, why would you pay some random guy like $4,000 a night to just kick people's ass in your bar and break all the tables? Anyway, on a side note, my dad actually used to resemble Patrick Swayze back in the early 90s, and he used to tell all my sister's friends that he was a stunt double for Patrick Swayze, and then he had a pair of these snakeskin boots, and he said that he got them on a shoot one day when he fell into a swamp and he had to kill an alligator with a Bowie knife. That's a true story. I'm not making that up. Risky Business, starring Tom Cruise, a young smart guy named Joel who one thing leads to another. You know, young men have needs, and he calls a hooker one day, but the hooker that shows up is a 7-foot tall black man. Joel, let me in so I can call a taxi. Next up, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. John Candy, Steve Martin, about two odd couples coming together to get home for Thanksgiving. And this movie has a lot of emotion to it and a lot of slapstick comedy that's hilarious. He sells shower curtain rings, and there's the one scene in this movie where he says, you know what, maybe I'm not smart, maybe I'm not blah, blah, blah. Did you guys like how I just completely downgraded the scene by going blah, blah, blah? Jesus, I don't deserve to live. And on a side note to this movie, if you guys have seen the movie Tommy Boy, that movie basically is like a remake of this. I mean, everything from, the odd couple to the car being destroyed over time. Eventually everything breaks on the car. They have a tarp and duct tape. And yeah, Tommy Boy took a lot from this movie. License to Drive. Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, the Coreys of the 80s. Anyway, I remember watching this movie over and over when I went to go get my license. And this movie, I don't know, it always stuck with me for years to come. My name is Zool. And then you have the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Anyway, it's Ghostbusters, and we're not talking about part 2. No, we're not. Just part 1, the original. It's about a team of guys who come together to fight ghosts. And only a concept that could really be made in the 1980s. And the opening to this movie is actually kind of scary. It starts off with that librarian going down in the basement, and there's all this weird stuff, and all the index cards start to fly out. And then you got Slimer. Slimer, man, come on. How could you not like that big green glob of goo? And then you had Rick Moranis. Huh? Rick Moranis, anybody? I liked him. Next up, it's Aliens, James Cameron's, this movie was well beyond its years when it was made, technologically, and it was just so well made. And I'm going to mention this because it was groundbreaking for the 80s, and plus someone in the comments on the last video threatened to castrate me if I didn't include it. And Sigourney Weaver in this movie. Get away from her, you bitch. Next up, it's Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I can't do a very good Pee-wee Herman impression. I really can't. It would really, yeah, I can't do. Large Marge! Anyway, a movie that I felt comedically was a little bit ahead of its time because some of the jokes in here, though they might be meant for kids, there's a lot of dark comedy going on in this movie. And even as a young kid, I recognized it and I loved it. Alrighty, just 2 more movies left, and the next one is E.T., directed by Steven Spielberg. And let me be honest with you guys, E.T. is not one of my favorite movies of all time. But I respect it, and that's why I put it in the list, because it's groundbreaking, and it really has that 1980s vibe. A young boy, that warm dream glow kind of cinematography going on, plus so many iconic scenes, and you got the old alien hand touching the little boy's finger with, the little glowing speckle in there. That's just magical. Okay, the last movie, out of all the movies that I really feel like defines the 1980s, it's a John Hughes movie, and how could you not include this? It's The Breakfast Club, starring Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, and, Molly Ringwald as the redhead. And, this was kind of a cliched, stereotypical, unrealistic movie, about a whole bunch of oddballs that get put together in a Saturday school because they all committed different, offenses. And, you have the jock, Emilio. You got the badass drug dealer. You got the weird, kind of odd girl who nowadays, she would be considered the goth girl. You got the nerd, and then you got what was in the 1980s to be considered like the hot chick. You know what my dad got me for Christmas? He got me a pack of smokes. Hey, Johnny, smoke up! But the one scene in this movie that defines everything is when Emilio Estevez, everyone's dancing around, they do the dance or whatever the hell, sorry. And then Emilio Estevez does a cartwheel, he goes into that glass room, and he screams, ah! And the glass shatters. It's like, what the hell just happened? Because if you mess with the bowl, young man, you get the horns. Why are my horns wiggling? Okay, so anyway, we covered a lot of movies through part 1 and part 2, and like I said, if you guys want to check out part 1, annotation there, link down below. Some good stuff. I wear a weird RoboCop helmet. Yeah, it's more sad than weird. Anyway, guys, let me ask you this. Which 1980s character do you most identify with or do you like the best? And, you know, tell me why. Give me a few reasons why you might like this character. What similarities do you find with this person? You know, I think mine would have to be Johnny from The Karate Kid. He's kind of a douchebag. He's slight badass. And also I think River Phoenix, Chris Chambers from Stand By Me. I think those two, I think those make me who I am, I would say. Maybe a little bit of Corey Feldman in there. So anyway, guys, if you love the 80s, go ahead and thumbs up this video. And you know what? If I get enough support, maybe I'll do my favorite 90s movies next. Or soon. Anyway, take care. See you later.